All right, everyone. It is Friday and it is time for the manufacturing e-commerce success. I am excited today. I am Damon Pasulka, one of the hosts here. This pretty gentleman over here, Kurt Anderson, co-host. Kurt, take it away, man.
I'm trying to send links out. Hey guys, happy Friday, man. What an absolute honor and privilege it is to be here today. Now, first off, on kind of a bummer note, our dear friend Constantina Mace, if you were here, if you're from the New Jersey MEP, if you're expecting to see Rockstar Constantina, she is under the weather today. Her son's under the weather. We send our thoughts, prayers for a quick recovery to Constantina. So Constantina, if you're out there, we're going to have you back on next month sometime and hope that you are feeling better. So, man, Damon, how about this fine, wonderful, amazing, incredible young woman here is taking her place? How about Nicole Donnelly's in the
Big
house?
shoes to fill. Yes.
And we just informed Nicole. We just informed her too that it's karaoke day.
Yeah, so for those regulars on the show, whenever somebody doesn't show up and a guest is under the weather, whoever plays guest host slips in, and it's karaoke day. So Nicole, we're are you ready?
Only if you call some of our audience members on the stage with me, okay? I want to do a duet with someone. Let's see who's out there. Dan Bigger, are you out there? You're coming on with me.
Yeah. We may have to get there.
Oh.
Yeah. It has to be later in the day. Later in the night. Actually, really near the midnight hour, I think.
Well, you know what? I just said a little link out. All right, let's dive right in. So, all right, we have hey, Dan Bigger, if you get a chance, check your inbox for on there. Just and anybody else in the little and Gail, check anybody else, just check that if you are so obliged. Click a link. And so anyway, Nicole, let's just dive right in. We're here to talk about community. And yesterday we had the absolute, what an honor and privilege it was for me. We got to meet in person. Yes. We were at the Industrial Marketing Summit, and boy, it was high energy. It was amazing, incredible, great speakers, great camaraderie. We met our group, our community of industrial B2B marketers. We'll talk about some of the folks that we met. Just share, what was your thought? We were in Damon. So here's the funny thing. We were at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, man. It was in Cleveland. And so what were they doing?
Rocks.
Dude, they were doing karaoke. But the karaoke at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's a live band. So when you do karaoke at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you're with a live band. So the band's playing, and I was trying to get Nicole to sing, and it
was too late.
Oh my!
We couldn't get up there.
It was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. So, Nicole, let's dive in. What was some takeaways for the Industrial Marketing Summit for folks that couldn't be there? What are some things?
Man, it was so great. So MJ Peters, who is a marketing rock star in manufacturing, she gave a really great presentation on what you can do to get leadership buy-in to marketing and increasing your budget. Because a lot of times in manufacturing, they're very sales-driven organizations, and it's really difficult to get, buy-in to invest in marketing with the leadership team. It's a common problem. I experience it all the time. It's like an ongoing battle struggle. I have friends who experience this problem, and she just had some really great advice and insights, I think, for anyone who's really struggling out there to get their leadership team to really get it, to get marketing, to get how it works, that it's, it's a long game, that it takes time to build, that it's like an investment in your future, right? And so she had some really great tips and advice, I think, that was really helpful. Some of the things she talked about were showing the value by doing some really low budget things that don't cost a lot of money. So for example, she said, you got to start with customer research, which I am a huge proponent of. You absolutely, anytime you're doing any sort of marketing initiative, you've got to talk to customers. And it's not just talking to them on a sales call. This means intentionally reaching out to top customers and prospects, a handful of them, and really having conversations with them to understand what are the things that they love about your brand. What are the words that they use to describe you? What are their pain points, challenges, and roadblocks? And really understanding that. And that's a very low cost It doesn't cost anything to talk to your customers and understand. And you can take that information and you can use it to update your website copy using their words so that it will resonate with a larger audience. And so she mentioned that, and I was just like cheering her on in the crowd. I'm like, yes, this is absolutely right on. And then the other thing she mentioned, which I think is so good, is just investing in SEO by putting out regular blog posts every week. And that is just such a, it doesn't, it obviously takes time, but if you're, on staff as a marketer, you're already there. You can already do that. It's not like you're asking for extra budget to create this content. So those were the two big things that she did. And once she was able to prove the value there and show like, look, I did these things. We took the information we got from customers. We used it to build out this great, content marketing plan for SEO. And we used it to beef up the content on the website. She used that as kind of like a way for her to get buy-in, right? And try to get more budget. So I love that. I thought that was such great advice for anyone out there who's struggling with a similar problem, and a nice scrappy way to go about it. So, yeah.
All right. It was so good. And she did a great job. She started in 2016 as a solo marketer at a manufacturer, and it was really great. Young, relentless marketer. And she kind of showed the progression of her growth and different companies that she went to. Now she's leading the team with $1 million budget. Yeah. And so very ambitious young woman. It was great, industrial B2B. And, big thing, I don't know if it was her session, Nicole, but, we heard heavy about don't put out content and ask what the CEO wants. Ask what the customer wants, man. It was just like drop the mic moments. I've got some notes here. We're going to throw around the different names. I have to go to Eddie Saunders, man. Damon. Eddie Saunders, like what you saw online, multiply that to the 10th power.
Yeah.
That's what you get in person, man. That guy was, what a blessing it was to meet him in person. Just his positivity, his humbleness. I mean, he's a ball of energy, but I mean, he comes in, he's, I can't speak high enough about Eddie. What was his favorite word yesterday, Nicole?
I loved it. Empathy. Yes.
So Joel Sullivan from Gorilla 76 was the moderator, and he said, if you guys like 1 or 2 words, it was the last session of the day, 1 or 2 words. What are your parting thoughts? And here, I mean, this guy is so wise beyond his years. He sits there and he goes, 1 word, empathy. And and I think he talked about it with us on Monday. He was like, there's a big difference between sympathy and empathy. Yep. Nicole, that is totally your preach. You love curiosity and empathy. Gail, if you're out there, you are the queen of curiosity. Yep. Nicole, talk about share some of the things that Eddie shared and just and how you implement and how critical this is for your strategies.
Yeah, I loved what he said about empathy. He talked about the difference between sympathy and empathy. And he said specifically empathy is putting yourself in the shoes of someone else and really trying to understand what they're going through. So in the situation, right, where you are dealing with a leadership team who's maybe not bought into marketing, put yourself in their shoes, really walk in their shoes and try to understand what are they trying to accomplish? What are their challenges and roadblocks? And the more that you can understand that too, the more you're going to be able to help move the needle, right? So yeah, I thought that was, he always preaches that, and I think it's awesome. So
yeah. And Dan, I got to put Dan's comment up here.
So
because you guys are obviously big Michigan fans.
Huge. And same with Jeff Long, So,
yeah.
Jeff Long showed me all sorts of pictures of his kid. He has a 2-year-old son, and he's decked out in Ohio State gear. Eddie is just screaming, "Go Buckeyes," on the floor. And it was, I'll tell you, I just can't speak high enough about it. So Nicole, let's talk about Joe Sullivan did an amazing job. Moderated back to back. I think he did 4 sessions, if I'm not mistaken. He just did, wonderful, asked great, engaging questions. He commented a few times on things he was passionate about. And we actually had dinner with Joe. What a great guy. Just sure. And he's built, Damon, he's up to 21 employees now at Gorilla 76. We see a number of them on LinkedIn. And man, he shared a great story about, his company was at a pivot. And he was like, this was in 2011. They went all in on manufacturers. He's like, a lot of people are telling him not to, bad move. He's been committed he and his partner for 11 years now of dedicated manufacturing marketing. Nicole, what were some takeaways that you felt? Joe's just such a brilliant guy. Again, humility, class act, integrity, great family man. But just what are some things some of your takeaways for Joe?
Well, first, I think just his humility. I was really impressed with that. Like, he was just a really down to earth, really easygoing. And I did appreciate, and what I loved about that story he shared about them deciding to really niche down and focus in on manufacturing. I think at that point, his agency was maybe 5 years old or 6 years old at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And he was working with a consultant who worked with a ton of agencies. So this is like someone who really knows and has a lot of experience, who is basically advising them against going this direction. Who's like, this is not a good direction. Manufacturers don't get it. You're going to struggle. You're going to have a hard time. And, he said that they just really felt like in their gut. I mean, they had some long discussions about it, but they felt like in their gut that they really needed to go in that direction. And I just was really impressed with that he kind of like just stayed true to what their experience was and used that intuition to kind of like guide them forward. And man, I mean, at this point, I think what a great direction it was for them. And now he can go back and know even more, like to trust his gut and know what that feels like going forward when he has to make other decisions like that.
Yeah. He did a great job chiming in on, again, we hear a lot of these marketing cliches, buyer's journey, and, but I mean, he just does such a great job of his team just comes in, takes a deep dive understanding, very technical products, engineering products. And he was phenomenal. So speaking of engineering and technical, so Damon, Wendy Covey was there. She was on a program a month ago, and my goodness, again, like what you see in person, multiply that to the 10th power, and that is Wendy. Damon, we do a couple webinars here and there, do we?
Once in a while. Yeah.
Now, by any chance, do you have a webinar coming up next week, maybe, or 2 weeks?
Me? Yes, I do. Yeah,
I think you do, dude. Right?
Yes, I do. Yep, we are.
Well,
I have to look at my calendar because I honestly don't know. I think next week I do have one.
Hey, dude, we're live. Don't say that live.
No. Seriously, today I was so inspired by the USA Manufacturing Hour Twitter chat I did yesterday.
Man, were you the host yesterday?
We gotta talk about that.
I forgot how much fun that was, and I was able to host yesterday. We were talking about a dry subject, business valuation fundamentals, but it was, the people, the questions, the interaction is so great with that USA Manufacturing Hour Twitter chat that, man, I just forgot how much fun it is. And it's kind of overshadowing everything else that I'm doing now.
Well, let's hit what a big week this was. Let's share some of the comments that you were getting fired at you yesterday.
Well, I mean, it was great. The questions that people were asking were really relevant, trying to figure out, does this make a difference? Does that make a difference? Do you, because there's so many different things, because business value, honestly, the biggest thing that people get to read is all the public company junk that gets published in whatever journal you're reading or something like that. And that has very little to do with how a, down the street company is valued. And that's what was cool about being able to answer some questions and talk to people about, some of the things that we get to do. And so they actually get some, hopefully, I say this with a grain of salt, come from me, useful information. But, it was just the questions. I mean, people are thinking about stuff on there. And that's not just yesterday. All these Twitter chats that they have. Yeah, great people doing it. Great questions, great interaction, pushing the hosts and educating everyone else. So I actually lost track of time. I was sitting here, I'm trying to respond to everyone, and I forget, do I reply? Do I tweet with respond? You're going through all this stuff. Just a blast. Just a blast.
And you posted, Nicole, right?
Yes. And you're right, Damon. It is like fast. It's like the fastest and most furious hour. You know what I love? I love the gifts that people come up with. They always come up with the best gifts.
I know. And I'm just gift challenged. I'm gift challenged. I have no gift game. And I'm lucky to get text done.
Yeah,
And they're
right,
like throwing out texts with these
Yeah.
beautiful, and it was like, golly.
I'm like thrilled when I do an LOL with a little
Yeah.
smiley face, let alone like, Dan Bigger
I
pulls
put
out
a
something
thumbs
that,
up in it. Woo.
Yeah. And Dan Bigger just does, crushes it. Katie is like the queen, and Whitney, you do a great job. You're getting some nice compliments here too, Damon, about what a great job
thank
you
you.
did yesterday.
Thank you.
So Dan Bigger's complimenting you, Whitney's complimenting you. So he did an awesome job. Fastest hour on the internet. Absolutely.
It is.
So let's slide. So check your calendar. I think you have a webinar coming up, but we do a few webinars, maybe one or two in our past, right? Here and there on occasion, right?
Yeah.
So we are, I like to deem we're kind of webinar connoisseurs, if you will. Would you agree with that statement? Do you feel like we're webinar connoisseurs?
We've done a few.
I'll tell you, Wendy Covey sets the bar so high. So if I were to score her, like if I was like a movie critic, the webinar critic, out of a 10, she's a 10 plus. Her presentation was so amazing, so powerful. And what she does is she hooks up with Global Spec, and they do an annual deep dive research project that comes out. And man, they were going through like the whole buyer's journey, and they went like deep. And her her first employee was Morgan Norris. And Morgan was sharing with us yesterday how she was hoping to have a son. And you know what she was going to name her son, Damon?
What?
Chuck. Chuck Norris. So Morgan Norris she was like praying that she was going to have a son, and she was going to, she was hoping she was going to have, but anyway, I'm like, that had been like, the karate lessons, the nunchucks, that would have been really challenging.
Broken windows.
Yeah. So we're like, so she doesn't have Chuck Norris. So anyway, so Morgan Norris got up, she spoke. She was absolutely incredible. Wendy is lights out, funny, engaging, entertaining. Nicole, what were it's True Marketing that they own, TREW. What were some takeaways you had from Morgan and Wendy?
Yeah, well, True Marketing really focuses in on engineering specifically, which I think is so interesting, because that is a very and they do content marketing for industrial manufacturers and really targeting engineers. And so I felt like there was a lot of really interesting things they pointed out from their report that might be a little bit counterintuitive to what we hear and think that we should be doing, or how we should be reaching customers. Like, for example, engineers, the number one way they research products is through websites, vendor websites, and supplier websites. And the least common way that they research products was social media and podcasts.
Oh, was it really?
I was surprised that was like so again, it goes back to this whole, you've got to know your customer, right? You need to know where they are, where, so that you can reach them in the channels that they're at. So I thought that was really interesting. And then the other thing that was really huge for this audience was product demo videos and instructional videos, and just like a lot of technical information is what the information that they really cared about. So I just love that she was able to share those learnings. And then to your point about the buyer's journey, she was just talking in great detail about how you should map out the customer journey, every single phase. And through each phase, you need to create content that speaks to the buyer for each of those phases. And I think that she went into such great detail about, very organized way of outlining each of the phases and the types of content that engineers care about at those phases. And I thought that was a really wonderful framework that you could potentially apply to any, you could do the same customer research for any buyer, whether it's, an operations manager or whatever your target is, and map out the customer journey in the same way, using your customer research to figure out what they need to learn and know about at those phases. So I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it was very powerful because, Cole, I think you might have a client or two where they're selling, $250,000, $500,000, $1 million pieces of equipment, right? And it's very common to say, what content are we going to put out, right? They're very common, okay? And how she laid it out, even I'm in this game, and I felt I still had an epiphany yesterday of how she spelled it out. So say if it's a 6-month, 12-month, 18-month buying process, they do step by step, because it's still going to be the same for that buyer. And now they, in the session before and that session, they talked about it could be a dozen different buyers in the decision,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you navigate all these different people? Because it's not like Damon, in our personas, we call them our soulmates, right? Well, there could be like multiple soulmates within that one buying decision.
Absolutely.
And they did, and so that was a session prior, and then Wendy and Morgan did a great job of like spelling out, okay, well, when they hit this point, drop this piece of information, because everybody has that same problem. Everybody has that same process. Everybody's going to be at that same stage of the buying process, and that was phenomenal. Yeah. Very
well, and it makes sense too, because in a large equipment purchase, you have maybe an engineer that's going to specify and recommend, and then you have people that are going to want to look at the business case to buy it. And then you've got the final decision maker that may be different than those other two. And then you may have a committee or something that has to have a different kind of holistic view of the whole thing. There's a lot of people that consider, like in manufacturing, I used to be, if you're going to buy a $1 million laser that's going to do something, or some other robotic welding, thing, you got a lot of people that have to understand it and agree that they're going to buy it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you've got to win. It's I think Wesleyan preaches this consistently. Get that internal cheerleader.
Yeah.
So, is it the engineer? Is it somebody in purchasing? Is it somebody in procurement? Like, you need it, and I think I think it's Wesleyan used like that Trojan horse almost reference of like, somebody needs to be on the inside with a big megaphone screaming, you're the one, you're the right person, you're the right choice. But even with that information, you've got to win the day with the CFO. You got like whoever's going to write the check. So you win over the engineer, you win over purchasing, you win over you win over sales, you win over marketing. You still need the gatekeeper. And I'll tell you, it was just so amazing. Nicole, yesterday we heard one of my favorite words over and over and over. I was like getting chills, Damon. You would love it. Configurators. Oh my goodness. It was like, I felt like I was in heaven. Jeff Long and Eddie are screaming, go Buckeyes, and these guys are talking configurators. But so Cadina's Parts, Part Solutions, that's who hosted the Industrial Marketing Summit, and they're going to be coming on our program in November. And they brought up a client, and it was a case study. And I'm telling you, dude, this was so powerful on how they've implemented and instituted a configurator. And Nicole, what I loved was she's the marketing guru. He was the IT guy. Now, thankfully, the IT guy, he didn't brand himself as like, typical kind of staunchy IT person. He had a little bit of marketing in the background, and it seemed like they communicated extremely well. Okay. But a lot of companies, you have IT kind of like battling with marketing. Nicole, was that just amazing, or what? How they were bridging that gap, that marketing IT gap? What were your thoughts?
Yes, it was amazing. The part I caught, I wasn't able to catch the whole session.
Oh, that's right. My bad. I forgot. I put you on the spot. Let me take the baton back.
You take that one back. Otherwise, I'm
my bad. Nicole had to deal with a client, go ahead.
I tell you what, though, configurators. Oh my goodness. I think about them, and I can't remember who I was talking to yesterday, and I was thinking back to nearly every manufacturing company that I was a part of could have used a configurator.
Yeah.
Because, when you're an OEM, there's always things. There's color, there's size, there's all these different things that always change, accessories. I was thinking of a truck manufacturer. I was thinking of some other OEMs that I was a part of, that these configurators can make it so easy for your customers, as you say, Kurt, to buy whenever they want, exactly what they want.
Right. Nicole, what's the term that you taught me this week that you picked up at HubSpot?
Yeah, they were talking about this when I went to Inbound last week. Actually, I went to a really great session all about how the sales, as we know, the way people are buying is changing, right? 85% of the purchasing process now happens online. Over the more time goes on, people don't want to talk to a salesperson. So you got to move as much of that sales process to your website. The configurator is perfect for that. And the word that they used was digital self-serve. People want to be able to pick themselves. They don't want, they want to be able to have control over the purchasing experience. So for companies, it's about letting go of the control and giving more control to the customer and letting them choose and decide. And he used this great example, the speaker that he has this company called River Pools, if you want to Google it. And you basically can go on, it's a fiberglass pool manufacturer, and you can go onto their site and basically pick out exactly what, all the things that you want in your pool, what size, shape, all of that. And it'll spit out for you, a price range and all of that so that you can kind of decide for yourself. I think he was saying that configurator gets them hundreds of leads a day. Hundreds of leads a day they're getting from that configurator.
Yep.
So that's a huge opportunity for like complex items, obviously that require a lot of customization. I think there's an opportunity there for these manufacturers to do something very similar. I've seen it work really well for some of my clients. We've done the same thing, and it's a great way to help them make the right decision. Yeah.
So, Nicole, what was that term again?
Digital self-serve, I think. Yeah.
Damon, I'm calling a moment of silence right now.
Yep.
I'll give all the credit to Marcus Sheridan. He was the one that
That's
coined
the one
the
that,
term.
you know what? You take it, Nicole. We don't
No
know.
way.
I'm teasing. It's like Allison the Ford with the wee syndrome. She's like, I don't think I came up with this. I'm like, Allison, you totally came up with it.
That's her.
Oh, Nicole, we're on the record. We're here on LinkedIn Live, but just soak in that term, digital self-serve. Bam, drop the mic. Damon, configurators, like you just say, like, can you think of an industry that couldn't use a configurator, right? It's just,
yeah, it is. They are, and as we've geeked out on them before, right. Kurt, I just think that when you look at, as Nicole said, how many people are buying now? And if you don't have, yes, your salespeople could be out selling the same item to customers too, but that configurator living on your site just opens you up to so many other people.
Right.
And if your configurator, as you've shown many times, Kurt, if the configurator can't get you all the way there, it can get you to, as you said, Nicole, leads that you can go call and say, hey, what were you really wanting?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do a thing. So I have a client, they call it the estimator. It's very clear. Like, this is not a quote. It's not 100%, but boy, we're going to get you there. We're going to get you started, right? This is the estimator. And you guys both know my dear buddy, Jason Deering. He does an amazing job with a killer custom configurator. He also does what we call the quote builder. We're like, this is a hard quote. We've got it down to a penny. And let's geek out on SEO, Nicole. I don't know if I've told you this, and if I have, but we'll geek out anyway. So on the quote builder, Damon is my famous ground strap guy, right? You've heard this story 100 times. But, so for anybody out there, configurator, quote builder, what are you talking about? It's just going on. And it's like a step-by-step. How do I build this? Okay.
Yep.
If I want to build this t-shirt, what size, what color, what print do I want on it? Right. Step by step. That's a configurator. So the thing is, Nicole, what they do on this, so this is a quote builder. Every time somebody builds out a customer comes on, they're on their site, time on site. That is a win for SEO. Yes. And more time on this site, less time on somebody else's, AKA competitor's site, right? So so Google loves time on site. They go through the quote builder. When they hit submit, it creates a product page. On that product page that we've created, we have an enormous amount of rich content loaded with our keywords and internal links going all over the place. So now every time that a customer is creating product pages for us, and the SEO juice is just phenomenal. So again, the customer wins. The customer doesn't have to call, doesn't have to email. And when they get their quote, there's a big, nice, juicy button that says what? Buy me now. They hit buy, pull out their credit card, they are done, and they move on to the 30 other things that they need to do for the day. There was no phone call. There's no chit chat. There is no, and I know like a pushback could be like, hey, what about the relationship? We're building the relationship because we just made their life so much easy. We closed the sale. That's what we're here for. Build relationships, but boy, we have to make a living too. So anyway, that was I was, and Damon, then on top of it, the last session with Eddie, that gentleman he was from Rochester, New York, and name of the company escapes me, McKinnon, maybe. And they were out of Buffalo, actually. And he was just like, I'm a configurator guy. I'm a configurator guy. He must have said it 10 times, right, Nicole? I mean, like,
Yeah.
what's going on how like he's teaming up. So he was the IT guy. He's a Cadenius client, and like teaming up with marketing, and how do they bridge their configurator with the marketing team? So
I tell you, to me, it's a game changer. It's a game changer.
It's a game changer. I couldn't agree more. So if you're out there, you want to geek out on a conversation about configurators, reach out to Damon, reach out to myself, reach out to Nicole, and we can get you. We have a number of subject matter experts that can help you with powerful solutions here. Nicole, I know, man, we're going to keep this short. Now, we're waiting for Dan Bigger to get on stage because we're going to do karaoke as soon as Dan gets on.
But Dan said he is not dressed for this. He said, I got to go back to it because I was like, I'm not dressed for success.
I wore my Allison to Ford, Trailblazer shirt today, just for Al. This is a shout out to Allison. So, Nicole, she's getting all ready for her trip.
I don't even know what my t-shirt says under this thing. Actually, everybody sees you. I always putting on a button-up shirt, but most of the shirts that I wear, people they shouldn't see in public.
Oh, it killed me to be dressed up yesterday, Nicole, right?
I saw that picture of you. I was like, is that Kurt? Is that Kurt?
I gotta tell you this story. Okay. So Kurt and Jeff Long picked me up from the airport. All right. And I was waiting on the curb to get picked up by them. And it was very crowded. There was a bunch of cars. I'm waiting for them to come. And all of a sudden I see this guy. He's like standing on his car, and he's just like, all of a sudden I just see him shooting up, and he shoots his arm up like this. He's like, hey, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Kurt.
Yeah, all right.
He's like standing on the
there's just cars everywhere, Damon. I couldn't get there, so I throw open my door. I stand on the ledge of my car, so I'm leaning over the hood, and I'm like, we've never laid eyes on each other in person. I'm with Jeff Long. I'm like, there she is right there. I'm like, Nicole, and I'm waving her down.
Yeah.
So he came running over, and Nicole, I might get teary. What a privilege it was meeting you in person, hanging out with you, Jeff Long, Joe Sullivan, just my Eddie, Wendy, just everybody that we had the honor and privilege of meeting. Just what
good stuff.
Yeah, it was such great community, and coming out of COVID to be in person at an event and see the people that we see online all the time, and just like be able to connect with them. I mean, it was true community. It was really, really wonderful. And it just was really nice to meet you in person, Kurt, and everyone. It was
it was just awesome. So why don't we wind down on this wonderful Friday, September, Damon, big football weekend, all right. So let's wind down. We were here, and Constantina, if you're out there, boy, we hope you're feeling better. And we were here to talk about community. And this is exactly what we talked about. So we went all of us together. And Damon, like Joe Sullivan was like, dude, how'd you meet Damon? And I'm like, LinkedIn, man. It's all about LinkedIn. And he was like, hey, have you guys met in person? I'm like, of course, man. We had like a huge day together. And it was all right. So anyway, it's all about building community. And if you think LinkedIn is a waste of time or nice to have, boy, I don't know, man. Nicole, those pictures that we were taking yesterday in those videos, we were saying it like, here's a LinkedIn success story right here, right? All these relationships, and we're doing business together. We're helping each other. We're rooting each other on. So that's community coming together in person. Finally, hopefully this little COVID thing's getting put behind us. And so we can now come out and meet in person. Damon, you just absolutely crushed it at the Twitter chat group yesterday. Mm-hmm. You've done an amazing job with, building your communities. I mean, Nicole, you dropped a line, I think on Monday, community is kinger. What were some of the lines you learned last week about
at HubSpot? It was so amazing. We're talking about how people are on digital overload coming out of COVID. And for the last 5-6 years, it's all been about just content, right? Like companies need to be educating and informing their customers and prospects, which is great. Awesome, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's doing that so well. But now it's time to take it to the next level. And so now it's all about community-led growth. And so it was just really interesting to hear that people are really feeling disconnected, more and more disconnected from their customers and from each other. And so the challenge is for marketers and for any businesses that really want to grow and truly connect with their customers is to try to figure out ways to build that community with their, creating like branded communities with their customers. And so now not only is it the company educating the customers, but it's the customers coming together and educating each other and helping each other and supporting each other. And I think that's what's great about our community here on LinkedIn, that we found, like we all kind of like help each other in that way. And so I think it's just kind of exciting to be part of that and see how companies who can build that and create that are really positioning themselves to really step up and lead the way when it comes to getting new business in the years ahead.
Yeah. And if you remember, Damon, on Monday, Eddie was talking about the buddy system, and he was on stage yesterday going heavy talking about the buddy system. And then, as a matter of fact, and then the session before, when they the Cadena case study, when they were talking heavy about the configurator, what they've done is aligned with their customers. And they even talked about like doing a case study with one of their customers, doing so it was all about partnership. It was about community. Eddie, man, just dropped another mic moment. Remember Nicole, he was talking about treat your sales distribution channels as if they're part of your internal. Go get to know them, get to understand, treat your distribution channel like your own customers. He's like, the more you buddy up with them, boy, who's going to be front of mind? And I'll tell you, he's wise beyond his years. So, all right. Any other now, Damon? So, what song are we doing by chance? But so
it's up to you, man. I can pull them out.
So, Nicole, we were trying to figure out. So she's a big Fleetwood Mac fan. So we're trying to find songs. We're in Cleveland at the Industrial Marketing Summit, and they had like this big, wonderful thing at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Boy, if anybody out there has never been to Cleveland or hasn't been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it is. And you're Damon, you'd be there for hours. This place is amazing. I've taken my family there, and we just love it. It's a great place. For their karaoke, they have a live band, and the band was like fantastic, and people are going up singing Elton John and what was the other song that we heard?
There was
Zombie. We heard Zombie by
we heard Zombie.
Cranberries. And anyway, we heard a few good songs, and we were trying to get Nicole up there to sing. And then Landslide. See, Dan Bigger wants to hear Landslide. So
there you go.
All right. So anyway, all right, we'll wind down. I know everybody's super busy. We're having a great time. But boy, takeaways for today. Dan Bigger, thank you for being here. We had 2 mic drop moments. Everybody out there, first off, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We deeply appreciate you more than you can possibly know. But let's just recap on a couple of takeaways. Boy, build that community. Boy, help others, raise others, whether it's somebody, look at this. We're all doing something a little bit different. Damon comes in yesterday and just absolutely crushes it on the Twitter chat group, educating, giving value, helping people figure out this whole, how to sell your business thing. Very daunting, overwhelming. I think Dan Bigger dropped a note. He needs to talk to you about somebody, but that can be super. You need somebody that you know, like, and trust. That's what Greg Mishu always preaches, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Configurators. Go ahead, Damon. What?
Well, and two, I could bring up something. Greg Mishu, did you see what he posted about case studies this week? Holy heck! That case study article or newsletter article he put together on LinkedIn this week was awesome. I just got to say that it was incredible, because we're writing some more and updating them. And I'm like, holy, boom, push that over to people.
You know what? I got a little away from LinkedIn. I need to check out that case study this week. That sounds
yeah. Me too. That's awesome. Yeah.
He just like boom, boom, boom. It was awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So hey, anyway. So next week, man. Next week I'm going to. I've another conference, man. I don't know. It's like trade show season or something. So I'm going to the MEP, the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Annual Conference on Monday through Thursday. We're going to try to be doing some LinkedIn lives at the actual conference, grabbing some MEP rock stars and talking about what they're doing in their state and at their MEP center. Damon, I'll keep you posted. Might be on the fly though, so we'll see how next week works.
Let's see what happens. Yeah,
I might try to. And Damon, I have a couple of clients in the Chicago area and around there we might try to do something on site at a couple of manufacturers. I will keep you posted on that. So we could have a real fun week possibly. So check out Damon has I believe Damon, I think you have a webinar on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is. It's Thursday. I believe it starts at noon Eastern time.
Eastern time. And what's dude, what are you talking about? You know what? It's 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 Central. I think they want you there at noon. So just share what are you going to be talking about at the webinar?
It's going to be capitalizing on online marketplaces for manufacturers. I mean,
that's a great topic.
Yeah,
it's a great topic.
Going through the different, and we're going to talk about some of the things we talked about today. You know, the digital self-serve. Why? Because manufacturers, they look. Well, I'm selling to my custom product to a certain customer, and they don't even. You know, there's a lot of things where they don't see where e-commerce can make this digital self-serve even better for existing customers that are already buying their thing from you. I mean, and really we're going to be looking at that and how these online marketplaces, some that you own and some that are third party, can really make the difference.
Right. More distribution channels. And I'll tell you what you've done. Do I have the book? You know, what you did for Kelly, and you're actually in the book, Tiny Business, Big Money, right?
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Tiny Business, Big Money. And there's a nice little case study about what you've done for a client of yours. So you've done amazing work helping folks.
I'm reading that book.
You're reading that book right now?
Yes. In fact, there's a quote from you in that book, Kurt. I just read it the other day.
Yeah. So you know what? I usually have the book right there. I gave it away. There was a buddy of mine, his son's like 19 years old, just starting college. And he comes to me, he's like, hey, can I talk to you about business and entrepreneurship? And he's like, you know, it was just such a thrill. And so I gave him that. I go, dude, you got to read this book. And so I don't have it here, but yeah. So Elaine Pulfeld is a great friend of ours. She's been on the program. If you guys are looking for a wonderful, incredible book to read, her first book was One Person $1 Million Business. One Person $1 Million Business. Great book. She writes for Forbes, and she's just an incredible author. Her second book, Tiny Business, Big Money. I was blessed. She had a quote. She interviewed one of my clients, and then she does this huge, like she dedicates like 4 pages to Damon's clients. So Nicole, when you get to, I don't remember the page, but when you get to, I have it all highlighted when it's like page 121 or something like that, because when she came on the program, this was awesome. I'm sorry to go on a diatribe. This was awesome. Elaine comes on the show, and I read the book, and I knew that she was talking about Damon the entire time. And because we gave her the lead, we said, hey, you need to talk to this guy, Kelly Cudworth. He's just absolutely crushing it in office supplies, just killing it. And Damon's a big part of that success. So Elaine doesn't know about Damon. Damon doesn't know that he's in the book. So
I had no idea.
They came in our LinkedIn Live, and I'm reading the quotes, and I go, Elaine, do you know who the CFO that Kelly is referring to that's like game changer for his business? You know who it was? It was that handsome guy right there, man. Just
that's amazing.
Yeah. So when you get to that section, it's Kelly. And what's his business, Damon?
New Leaf Office Solutions.
New Leaf Office Solutions. It's like around page 1 something. And she doesn't mention Damon by name, but the whole section she's talking about Damon, and what it was to see the look at both of you when I put that together. I'm like, well, Lane, guess who his CFO is? That guy.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Damon didn't know, she didn't know, and it was awesome. So, all right. Anyway, I apologize for that little digression. So, all right, we will wrap up. Guys, have an amazing week. Nicole, any parting thoughts, words of wisdom, any inspiration for everybody as we close out today?
Empathy. I'm going to reinforce exactly what Eddie shared yesterday and just say, always lead with empathy wherever you are, and it will always lead you in the right direction.
Damon, brother, how about you? What's your words of wisdom takeaway?
Well, if we're just going with a word, it's gratitude for me. Every day, waking up with it.
Love it.
Man, how did I get so blessed to have these people in my life? So you know what? I'm going to go with 2 words, Damon. You know, I love that radical humility, man. How could we live? So take that empathy, take that gratitude, take humility, and let's take it to the next level. Be in radical gratitude, be in radical humility, be in radical empathy. Boy, let's just give everything we've got to each other. And we're just, man, what a better place this will be. Right. So,
Yep.
all right. Hey, let's wrap up, guys. We wish you an amazing, incredible, wonderful weekend. We're going to be coming into fall next week. We're going to have some LinkedIn Lives for you next week. We're not sure what we're going to do. Nicole, you have an amazing weekend. You've got some big plans coming up. Damon, close us out, brother.
All right. Well, great day today. And even though our guest had sickness, that's too bad. But it's glad we got to talk about the Industrial Marketing Summit. Talk about some of the people there, talk about some of our people in our community that we've had here before. It's awesome. It's awesome good to talk to Nicole and you about that and see the comments from everyone. So let's wrap it up today from the Manufacturing E-Commerce Success. We will be back again, maybe next week, maybe the week. But if not next week, we'll be back the week after.
You're not, they're not getting rid of us that fast, Damon.
No,
we'll be back sometime. We're just not positive when. So,
yep. So have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye.